Are you ready to do a whiskey quickie with the Jim Beam Black, aged 7 years? Let's go. Hey everybody, this is Mark from Northwest Bourbon. We're going to try out this new on the shelf this year. Jim Beam put out the Jim Beam Black with the 7-year age statement. Heard a lot of people requesting this bottle recently, and it finally hit the shelves on base for about $22 out the door, which I think is not a bad price for any whiskey. So we got one pour in the infinity bottle and another to review with you. Let's let that sit and air out for a moment while we take a look at this bottle. It is the Jim Beam Black. It has a 7-year age statement, and it's just got a really dark label with that Jim Beam aged 7 years standing out in front in gold.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
On the side label, looks like a bunch of buzzwords. After 7 years resting in barrels, something special happens. The liquid turns rich gold with notes of caramel, vanilla, and warm oak. This is the smooth aged whiskey of Jim Beam Black. It says it's 45% alcohol by volume, 90 proof, and like I said, this was about $22 out the door on base. Now this showed up on base much later than it showed up at other stores, and I waited until I could buy it on base so I could avoid the Washington State taxes.
I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it.
But on the nose, I'm getting Cracker Jacks. There's boiled peanuts. There's caramel. There's some popcorn. Let's get in the palate. Cheers. It's got a pretty good overall palate. Nothing too spiky. Nothing too crazy. It's not hot. It's not harsh. It doesn't have any spikes. It's got a pretty good balance to it. Let's go in for a second sip. Cheers. The second sip was a little bit more watery than the first sip. I felt like it was thinner. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into the final thoughts. When it comes to Jim Beam's standard line of bourbons, you've got the white label, which I do not like at all. You got the blue label, which is the double oak, which I think is pretty good. You got the devil's cut that I'm not a fan of, and you've got the black, which is okay. I would say just off my first initial review of the black aged 7 years, I think this is just as good as the double barrel. And for $22 out the door, you can't argue with the price at all. So if you are a fan of the Jim Beam profile when it comes to any of that starting lineup that they got over there at Jim Beam, like I just talked about, I think this one is pretty good. So if you are a fan of the Jim Beam type flavor profile, I would definitely put this as a buy. But I'm not going to say it's a shelf staple. Absolutely not, and I'll tell you why. Because for a few dollars more, like $5 more, you can get Knob Creek 9-year, 100 proof, and that's a shelf staple. You got a 9-year age statement, you got 100 proof as opposed to 90, and I think it's just overall a better pour, but I'm going to test myself on that. Yeah, standard Knob Creek's better. So Jim Beam Black 7-year age statement, it is definitely a buy, but the Knob Creek 9-year age statement, 100 proof, that's the shelf staple. Earn, protect, enjoy. Cheers.